Over the past year, PUBG esports has taken off in popularity. What was once a random LAN schedule has developed into a massive global competitive ecosystem. PUBG has jumped at the opportunity to take advantage of the recent spike of interest to introduce their new ranked system in-game, or skill-based rating. My name is Jabroni, coach of Ghost Gaming PUBG, and in this video we will go over the basics of competitive squad gameplay in order to give you the advantage while dropping into the battleground. Before we begin, it's important to understand that this video is meant to go over many aspects of the game in brief detail. If you are comfortable with this, don't worry, however, as I have an upcoming masterclass series where I plan to dive into all these different aspects even further, so make sure you hit that subscribe button to be one of the first to take full advantage. Now, without further ado, let's jump into the very beginning of any PUBG game, your drop spot. PUBG offers a wide variety of drop locations made to fit any style of gameplay. When playing with the goal of winning a game, however, there are 3 different priorities to take into account. Safety. The looting phase is made for exactly that, looting. Although hot dropping may be fun and may make a high kill game easier to achieve if you can survive your early game fight, don't lose sight of the goal, winning the game. Try choosing a looting location based on lack of other players. Watch out the back of the plane. If no one drops somewhere like Primorsk, it may be a good choice for you. If you are one of those that likes early game confrontation, however, don't worry. Everything else in this video still applies after racking up the early game kills. Vehicles. I cannot stress enough the importance of vehicles. If you're an avid competitive PUBG viewer, you're used to teams driving in 4 separate vehicles. These vehicles will be paramount in supplying your squad with options in the late game and safety during rotations. Our recommendation is to drop on a vehicle before looting even begins, drive it to your loot path, and begin your game preparations. It's important also to make sure that your parachuting skills are up to par if you're going to be racing other players for a specific vehicle. You do not want to get ran over in the early game. Loot quality. Although a bit RNG and somewhat out of your control, giving yourself a spot to loot with plenty of buildings could be the difference in fights later in the game. Check how long it takes for you to loot certain areas of the map. If you're getting decent gear and have time to rotate prior to Circle 1 closing, your spot is ideal. Which brings us to the next aspect of the game we will touch on, looting. While in the looting phase of the game, inventory management and communication are of the utmost importance. After completing a few buildings and getting the basics, it's important to communicate to your team what items you have, what items you need, and any goodies you may have found extras of. Getting in the habit of trading loot and looting for one another can cut a massive amount of time out of your early game. Now let's get into the basic items you want to acquire before rotation begins. First and foremost, you need to get an AR. The current meta is AR heavy, an M4, a SCAR, an AK, even a barrel is definitely some of the most popular currently. On top of that, you need a helmet, you need a vest, you need a backpack. Those are the absolute essentials to moving on into the mid game. Besides that, the tier 2 stuff you want, but not going to be guaranteed, a DMR or a sniper, a ranged scope, first aids, meds, and of course some utility grenades, smoke grenades, flashbangs, all of that good stuff. Now, unfortunately, you may be in situations where items like first aids and ranged scopes just aren't falling into your pockets. Although disappointing, sometimes sacrifices may need to be made. Rather than spending time in blue looting for these items, leave a little earlier and look for a priority spot in center. Who knows, you may get these items off the bodies of enemies relatively soon. Now that you're geared and ready to fight, it's time to begin the most challenging part of PUBG, your rotation into circle. Rotations are by far the most difficult part of high-level PUBG to understand. Where to drive, where to stop, where to scout from, and pathing can all be extremely dangerous. Let's try to break it down in the most simplistic manner. At the start of your rotation, it's extremely important to speak with your squad and understand where you are rotating from, your current looting area, and what your final end goal location is. This end goal location can be as optimistic as you want it to be. If you're looting Prim and you're trying to get to a dead center on a Yasnaya circle, fair play. Will you actually get there? Almost definitely not. Once your ideal location is chosen, you must come up with a path to take and necessary stops to scout from along the way. Now, this part may take some trial and error, but thanks to PUBG adding the brand new marking system by using Alt plus right click, you can mark the path you want to take and the stops you want to take along the way. The question you're asking yourself is simple. If I am at A, trying to get to B, what is the safest way I can go? In order to speed up early rotations, the lead vehicle should be the only one stopping at a given location to scout while the other vehicles continue to your next stopping position. This will create a chaining effect. A small tip that some of you may not be aware of is the current water circle shift on Circle 4 of a competitive game. I'm not sure yet on how this will be implemented into the game and the ranking system in the future, but be aware currently in competitive games, this is a thing. The basis of this is pretty simple. Phase 4 will do everything in its power to shift off of water completely, so rather than picking a spot on the coast, it may be more beneficial to play more inland. It is important while holding any position to immediately identify a few different things. First off, identify your threats. Do any other teams have to push you to survive? Is there a position that teams can use to get up close and personal with what you are defending? It is your job to identify these things and prepare for them. If we're under threat and we're worried about being pushed by a specific team, it's a good idea to designate one player to solely watch that specific threat. Second, let's identify our next move. Is there a position in front of you that is better than your own? What are you going to do if circle shifts east, south? What about north? These discussions are vital in being prepared for surviving the upcoming phase. Lastly, we can identify kill potential, damage potential, and start shooting everything in front of us while we wait for the phase to end and our fate to be decided. Acting on the shift. One of the biggest deciding factors of the outcome of a game of PUBG is the decision and action a team makes as a result of a certain circle shift. Your squad can cash out on any zone and even grab a chicken dinner by acting quickly, acting intelligently, and acting aggressively. So let's take a look at the step-by-step process of questions to ask yourself upon a shift. Should we stay or should we leave? If we're staying, are there any teams forced to confront us? Where will those teams likely push us from? And can we prepare ourselves for that upcoming confrontation? If we need to leave, where should we be going? Is there a team in front of us? Have they moved? Can we just backfill them? Are we being held out? Is a push or a crash imminent? In a situation where a fight is being forced upon you, it is important to not hesitate. Waiting for Circle to force you out of your safe location in order to get an extra placement or two is not the play here. Once a decision is made, act without hesitation. Simply by pushing 30 to 45 seconds earlier, the opposing team is going to suffer from a lack of preparation. Finding one or two players out of position for the enemy could be the difference between winning or losing an engagement. When it comes to crashing a compound, there are hundreds of different small variables that will be taken into account, and you will need a lot of practice. In order to keep this video somewhat basic, here are a few small tips to use as guidelines during this process. First, gain hard cover. After your vehicles slam into a compound, it's vital to take control of priority pieces of hard cover. Vault into windows, push through doors, and try to dominate important buildings so you can better pressure the opponent. Second, be aggressive. When you arrive at an enemy's location, don't waste time and hold angles. Do your best to overrun the opponent as quickly as possible. Look to isolate specific players. If you have an opponent solo in a building or piece of cover, act quickly and pressure that player in order to get a quick kill or knock that can turn the tides of the fight.
Absolutely enamored with the idea of taking on everyone in this lobby.
Third, spend your utility. Crashing in PUBG is usually the turning point in the game for your squad. Winning this engagement is the only thing you should be thinking about, and therefore don't be scared to waste as much utility as you need to. Grenades inside buildings, smoking off windows, and flashbangs before pushes can make a difficult fight an easy win.
Need to get so that way they can continue this push back over towards it. Will Tempo Storm find the angle?
So we had roof control, which was very important in that situation, but FaZe was able to throw nades perfectly onto roof, forcing me and Sharky off the roof, so we just had to play inside and they got on our building.
And lastly, create chaos. When you are the team that is bringing the aggression, it is important to put the defending team in a position where they are having trouble controlling the fight. Taking away information by moving off of grenade sounds, sneaking around corners to kill unsuspecting players, and full-on zerging opponents will put them in a stressful situation they cannot keep organized.
This is my compound. Peeking around carefully. Another falls! GX being decimated and the flush from Joy.
Along with this, I am interested on what tricks you guys used while crashing compounds. If you have anything that has been working for you and your team, feel free to drop it in the comments below.
Oh no, not like this. Not like this indeed, and he's going to get picked off too. Silzen, you know, what can you do?
Now, along with crashing compounds, your squad will likely face other types of engagements throughout the mid and late game. Before this video ends, I wanted to give you a few basic tips to help you win these engagements more frequently. Number 1, Crossfire. Utilizing crossfire and angles in PUBG is one of the best ways to suffocate an enemy squad. Denying extra angles for other teams to use forces them to bunker down in a defensive position, giving you mobility around them. In tight spots, crossfire can confuse a team pressuring you and near guarantee you a knock or two before the opposition has a chance to respond.
Great time from the flank from Michael. He found what he needed to. Iro's going to step it up, and he's going to get the down on Awayless forever. Looks like he might think he could try to get this res, and he should be able to. The circle still a little bit away. ZGG is going to get flushed out, though.
I think Shallow's been spotted. They're getting shot at now. And the pressure is just mounting onto 4 AM, despite their high ground advantage.
There it is.
TSM are cutting them down one by one, and only one angry man remains. The first
Number 2, don't take 1v1s. I cannot stress enough how bad it is in PUBG to push one-on-one confrontations. Your team is in the game for a reason. Learning to properly trade can boost the skill of a squad tenfold. If you have an issue with a player or even yourself forcing bad solo fights, make sure you target this as an immediate improving point.
Pokemon doesn't have to rush this. He's still got the rock, but Loki ever closer, creeping towards the center. Headshot in range here for Loki, now at the tree. Pokemon and Loki both out of utility. They've used everything they've got here. Only the 2 times on their 416 for Loki. Lands the headshot. Does he have the heals though? Loki's pushing up. Loki picks up the headshot win. 3v1 in the end against RV.
Number 3, playing spoiler. Being a spoiler in an engagement is defined as being a player in an unsuspecting position. In many cases, this is a squad member who is excessively closer to an opponent than the enemy believes, giving them an opportunity to put out free damage and grab free kills without risk. Understanding this and communicating with your team that you are playing a spoiler role will let your team know that you are playing off of their gunshots and will be reacting when the optimal time arrives.
Genji's still at all 4 alive, and Pio is coming alive. The beast from the east returns again. Pio!
The real story here.
Guys, that's going to do it for this video. In this video, we have gone over many different aspects of the game very briefly. I encourage you to stick around the channel for upcoming videos where we will dive into all of the topics discussed even more in depth. If you have anything specific that was not covered in this video that you would like me to touch on in future content, be sure to drop it in the comments below. Thank you guys all for watching. My name is Jabroni, and good luck in the battleground.
Kicking things off for Genji. He gets found out. Then the other 3 members get it going. Loki with that huge pickup on that crate, taking advantage of that MK14, picking up some big kills. Esther as well with a ton for himself.